I'm Emma, a certified dog trainer.
And I'm Kirsten, a certified dog behavior consultant.
And this is Dog Chats. Join us as we chat about dog behavior, having fun with your dogs, and building relationships. We will offer practical advice and a bit of humor. Hi everyone, welcome to episode 30. Today we're going to talk about muzzles. It's something that we've mentioned in our vet episode and also in the disaster preparedness episode. So we want to talk about it in a little bit more detail. The uses for muzzles.
Why we love them.
And especially Kirsten absolutely loves muzzles, and I have definitely my uses for them as well. So we're going to go through that a little bit. When was the first time you noticed a muzzle on a dog?
It wasn't until my young adulthood when I was working with my grumpy border collie at the vet, and she had already broken the skin on poor Dr. Fry, probably several times before he pulled out the mesh muzzle and said, "Hey, I think we need to use this." And I remember feeling, oh no. And as soon as it went on her, she laid down. And I thought, what? Why didn't I do this 10 years ago? So I wasn't exposed to muzzles. I don't think there were a lot of muzzle dogs in Illinois in the 70s.
Yeah. And the only place I can remember seeing muzzles on dogs was greyhounds when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And we had greyhounds around us. So I did notice that they always had muzzles, but I never noticed any other dogs having muzzles. But it was that kind of thing, oh, they must bite or something like that. So let's talk about the stigma around dogs wearing muzzles.
You know, I think people think that a muzzle equals a bad dog. And that's something I'm personally really working to change. I love this quote by Dr. Daniel Mills, the vet behaviorist out of England. And he said, "Aggression is not a behavior. It's someone's interpretation of a behavior. Behaviors happen because inhibition is released." And it made me think, wow, bite inhibition can be controlled with a muzzle. If we can't do behavior mod, or we can't change the dog from the inside to the outside, but we could put a muzzle on, we're fixing that one part of the problem with that dog's play style or that dog's way it communicates at the vet. And it's that simple. So if I see a dog in a muzzle, I don't think this is an aggressive dog or this is a bad dog. I think that's a dog just needed a little help. So my dog Mick does air snaps. He's not a bad dog. He's a very good dog. But if I can take him off leash with a muzzle on and not worry about him doing a snap at somebody passing by, his life is so much better. So I think I don't also really care if somebody looks at him and thinks he's scary. I like getting the space.
Yeah, that's true. It definitely does give you space.
Yes.
People tend to look at dogs with muzzles and think they have to cross the street or keep distance.
But if I really thought that was a good look, I would probably be using like one of the metal wire basket muzzles. And I'm not. He's got a pink one and a teal one. So I'm playing with the color a little bit. And I'm also doing that just to help change how people feel about the muzzles.
Yeah, because there is judgment. I can even remember with a previous dog having a gentle leader on.
Yes.
And somebody saying to me, "Oh, is that a muzzle?" And I was like, "No, it's not."
Yeah.
I was so like, "This is my dog. What are you talking about?" So the awareness we want to bring today is that it's okay to wear a muzzle, and there's times where that's very appropriate, and we have to let go of that.
Yes, of that stigma. I remember when I didn't want to wear a seatbelt, because when I was a kid, we didn't wear seatbelts, and then all of a sudden it was like, what, California, you got to wear a seatbelt? And it felt like, what, people are going to look at me like I'm a dork.
And you also mentioned about a leash.
A leash, same thing.
So I think that's a good story.
Yeah, well, coming from Illinois, my dog Marty was almost never on a leash, maybe going like into the vet. So here I am in Tiburon walking around the bike path with no leash because I was entitled, and she's jumping on people. She wasn't a very friendly dog at all. And then people were like, "Put her on a leash." And I thought, a leash? That's so cruel. And there was a point in my life where I thought that about muzzles. I thought a muzzle was cruel. I didn't realize that's just another training tool. And it can change a dog's behavior. Like I find with Mick, if he starts the playing with another dog with the muzzle on, I can take the muzzle off because it's a reminder of, oh, I can play with other places in my body besides my teeth.
Let's talk about all the ways you can use a muzzle for different things. So I use a muzzle for vet visits. I use it for both Buddy and Kiva. Kiva, I started it during COVID more so because I had to give her to the vet to take away from me, and I just thought she'd be more comfortable because there was a couple of times where I could see her body language was saying, don't try that.
Yeah.
So I worked with her at home doing that, and we'll go into a little bit of detail with that. And I also trained Buddy to wear one too, because even for nail cutting here at home, he had a broken leg. So I know there was previous pain, so he's very sensitive about his toes being touched. So in order for me to work with that comfortably, where he wasn't trying to snap and I wasn't jumping back, we worked on getting him acclimated to the muzzle, and then I was able to cut a nail, give him a treat. So we were still working on that emotional state changing, but it just made both of us feel safe.
Love it.
That for the vet as well is a wonderful thing. And what other uses is there for muzzles?
I just want to go back and capitalize on what you said. It changed both of your emotional state, right?
Absolutely. I felt more comfortable. I wasn't waiting for a snap, and little Buddy is very fast.
Yep.
The vets call him spicy. He's doing better, but it's still a work in progress. But yes, it definitely helped me feel more comfortable that I could go in there, get a nail without getting a little nip at the same time.
Yeah, so that's the same for me when I'm working doing like a dog greeting, and let's say I'm working with a shelter dog or I don't know much history about this dog. If that dog is wearing a muzzle, I can keep the leash loose. I'm not like on the balls of my feet, ready to spring back. And I'm so much more relaxed. To your point, I feel in control. I feel empowered to let that dog just have a more natural moment. I think the dog is more successful, especially if this is a dog who has bit the owner before, like a redirected accidental bite. Taking that out of the equation, basically taking the bullets out of the gun, I always say, makes me feel so much more confident and calm. And then that's carried down the leash to the dog.
Yeah, so true. And there's another way that you can use a muzzle. If your dog is a poop eater, it can just stop that mouth being able to grab a hold of something.
Yeah, that you have the right guard on there. Filth guard, I think they call it when it's poop specifically. But I have a client who's with her dog who's eating rocks and swallowing them.
And that's so dangerous.
So dangerous. And in some trainers, I have heard them say, don't use the muzzle because then you're getting a fake behavior or covers up the behavior. But in a case like that's a life-saving condition. And that dog was able to then go out in the yard and have fun and run around.
And I've had 2 clients in the past that their dogs did eat rocks, and both of them had to have surgery.
Yep. So it makes me feel better. I think it makes the other dog often feel better. There's ways to use the muzzle correctly. We're not just throwing it on there. We're making sure it's a good fit. We're making sure it's the right muzzle for that dog.
And there's so many different muzzles out there. So let's talk a little bit about
so exciting.
The different muzzles. And you definitely use a bigger variety of muzzles than I do. Yeah. So I want to hear a little bit about the different fun-looking muzzles that are out there.
To the point of I was late to come to this recording podcast because I went down the rabbit hole of going through Instagram muzzle posts that I get so excited about. But I think the newest addition is adding different materials. So it's not just that hard black rubber, which I found out was because that was the cheapest way to produce. The black rubber is the least expensive. So the average Baskerville black muzzle, that's what I generally tell clients to use when they're starting. Inexpensive in almost all stores, but does not allow the dog usually to really open their mouth. So if they're going to be hiking with a dog or playing with the dog, then we need to look at other muzzles. But that's my first go-to. Is that what you use for?
And that's what I use. Also with the Baskerville, one of the things I always hear is that it doesn't necessarily stop a dog that really wants to bite.
Yeah.
But in my case, this is for Kiva, I know she's not going to really want to get a bite in. She'd just do a little air snap and then maybe just try and nip.
Yeah.
So I felt for her that was a good choice.
Yes.
And the Baskerville, too, is also a really nice one to practice. And we'll talk about how to start that off as well. But it's a nice one to practice because you can get food in.
Yes. There's
the
a
opening.
Nice big treat hole. Correct. Yeah. And then the other kind I used to recommend a lot more are biothane. There's Trust Your Dog and Boomus. Those are a really nice option if you have a smaller dog or if you have a dog with an odd size face, because you can get them custom made pretty easily because they're just using the different biothane strips. They're not bite proof though. I did have a client who they were able to add in some steel in the front so that it would be more bite proof, but I also have 2 clients whose dogs were able to bend the biothane.
Oh.
and get a bite in. And I did some research on that, and I no longer recommend the biothane if there's a bite history. They're fine for poop eating. They're nice and light, cute, colorful.
Yeah.
But the
What's
one,
your go-to?
oh, my go-to is they're new. 2022 was when she started her Kickstarter, and they didn't really come into full production until 2023, so they're very new. But the Muzzle Movement muzzles out of England, and she used a 3D printer to create the first molds, and then I don't know that technology word, and then fills the molds. They're designed for many bully breeds, which is wonderful because the average Baskerville muzzle doesn't fit a bully breed.
Yeah, it's more narrow.
Yeah. And for me, there's so much room to pant, and that's just crucial because if I'm looking for a muzzle for the dog to play in, they have to be able to pant. And a lot of the other muzzles don't allow that tongue to come all the way out, where these, you could basically have a tennis ball in your mouth and put this muzzle on.
And I love that it's out of England because one of the things is there is a lot of countries that require muzzle for different breeds.
Yeah.
So having a muzzle that every time they go out they have to have on, having one that they can breathe and move around a little bit,
it's light.
and it's light is so important. We've had some restrictions here in the States a little bit, but not compared to European countries. There's a lot of restrictions on breeds.
Yeah, she did a lot with pastel colors and super fun colors. I also love that she's added a biothane nose piece, so it's not hard plastic or hard rubber on the dog's actual nose or metal. It's super soft. So it sits on that biothane and then is up above a little bit. And also, to your point about Europe, am I right that you can go on public transportation? I think there's a lot more things you can do with your dog in Europe if they're muzzled as opposed to...
Oh, that I don't know.
Okay. I just remember Dr. Tom Mitchell talking about one of his reasons why everybody should be muzzle trained is because then you can ride the train and the ferry and...
Yeah, the ferry probably, yes, and there's probably some requirements that you have a muzzle on in particular areas too. Yeah, but I don't know for sure about that.
So I often ask my clients, in the back of my head, I'm making a movie on muzzles and how they empower people and how one of the muzzle movement companies' Instagram post the other day said, basically, all dogs deserve a chance to learn muzzle acclimation. And that's all dog guardians' job is to give them that opportunity to comfortably wear a muzzle. So if there is an emergency or if there is a vet visit or if there is a situation where they need to be muzzled, it's something they've practiced.
Absolutely.
So getting back to the movie, I've reached out to several clients and asked for photos and some videos because a lot of my clients, their dogs would not be able to be out in public without a muzzle. And it's given them a whole new life wearing that muzzle. This is one of my favorite clients, and she's got a Japanese Akita, and she lives in San Francisco. And one of the things she said is, what I like about the muzzle, my boy is a guard dog in a stuffed animal package. And with the muzzle on, people naturally give us space. Even entitled owners who walk their dogs off leash in public spaces will either put the leash on or avoid approaching us head on. I love that. I had recommended to her to get a vest that says, I need space.
But people get too close.
Yeah,
you got to read it.
Got to read the vest. And nobody took it seriously, but they have a super cute orange and yellow and black muzzle, so you could probably see her now in San Francisco. But I think it's empowering. There's a little bit of me, like I was saying, I want people to look at me and feel like, ooh, okay, we'll give her space.
Give her space, because that's what they need anyway.
Exactly.
So it just helps.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So how do we teach our dogs to comfortably wear the muzzle? So how do we start that off?
Yeah, and you showed me that. And then also I love the Dr. Tom Mitchell video where he shows, what do you call it, just like a little PE gym cone, and having that a target behavior where the dog moves towards the cone and gets the treat. I think for a lot of people, using a cone makes them feel better initially because it's associated with fun and play.
And what we're trying to do is just get the dog to put their head in that space.
So we're not putting the muzzle on the dog. We're holding that muzzle still, and the dog comes to it.
And you can lure as well.
Yeah.
But you can do it both ways, either mark them just coming to it. And I also had heard about that lovely way of doing it too, which is just cupping your hand and luring your dog's chin over your hand and starting with that. So that's a little space that they're coming into.
Yeah, chin rest.
And that can really help as well. And then building it to, it can be a cup, it could be a cone, just something that they put their head in. And then if you have your Baskerville or whatever make of muzzle you have, is just feeding them for putting their head in.
Yep.
I'm doing the motions here. Kirsten's looking at my
so that
hand
it's
now.
so that it's agency, so that they are coming to the muzzle and
Yes.
either getting rewarded when they come back out or getting rewarded while you're putting a treat through that muzzle hole. Sometimes if the dog is really nervous, I've put a little cream cheese or peanut butter on the inside of the muzzle for the dog to lick. Depends on the dog.
Yeah. And that's a good thing too, just to mention, if you have a dog that might have an issue with doing this, definitely contact a trainer to help you through that process.
Yes.
And I've heard some other nice ways of doing it too, like you could just put the muzzle between your knee and then have them come in and target that.
Yeah.
Or I've seen a food bowl, putting the muzzle standing up in the food bowl so they actually go into it that way.
Yep.
So there's a lot of great things, and we're hoping on Instagram for this month's episode we'll put some video up there of our
definitely.
dogs doing it as well.
Yeah. And I often am doing that where the muzzle's between my knees, and that's so I have two hands to do the buckle. Otherwise, if I'm holding it with one hand, it's really hard to do the buckle with one hand.
Yes.
But on that podcast, the woman's talking about how you can also hang a hook on the wall
Oh, yes.
and then have the muzzle hanging in the hook and the dog's targeting that. For a lot of my clients, it's really hard to do that actual head strap.
Everybody can get the face
Yep.
in, but then just getting those straps back there.
Yeah, and I really like this idea of having the head strap very loose behind the head initially so that the muzzle goes on and you're just pulling that strap over their ears. And then later that can be tightened. But I find that's where my clients really want help. They've been doing the acclimation for 2 weeks and they're like, but I haven't buckled it yet. And I'm
Yes.
like, why? Do you think it's going to explode?
And then the movement is so important. When I did it with Kiva, I felt once I put the movement in, then she was trying to get it off, even though she was comfortable with everything we had done
Yeah.
in stillness.
Yeah.
When we started to move, she was going, what is this? I'm trying
interesting.
to move. So
Interesting.
just getting her used to that.
Yes, because I think for me, a lot of my clients are doing all the muzzle acclimation inside and the dog is like bored and then they're trying to get it off. Where I say, let's pop the leash on and now we're going for a walk. So that muzzle equals an exit. I know Mick is pretty tame with it, but Mick was wearing the wrong kind of muzzle for many years. And so when I got the new muzzle for him that fits so much better, it just changed how he felt about wearing the muzzle too. He no longer tried to get it off because it was a better fit.
And that's important as well. I have to tell my story about Kiva.
Yes.
So yesterday we went to the vet, and I always bring her muzzle if they have to take her in the back and
Yeah.
pull blood, or she's had elbow issues, so they're always testing her and stuff. And yesterday I went in there. I have a wonderful vet, and I always ask her, would you like me to put the muzzle on now? And she'll either say yes or she'll say no. I think we're good. And for the first time yesterday, with me in the room, the vet was able to take blood
Wow.
and give her a rabies shot without the muzzle on.
Oh, excellent.
She did wonderfully.
yeah.
So I want to say that from my perspective and my uses for it is even with Buddy that I have to put it on for his nails,
Yeah.
we have got to a stage now where I probably would trust not having that muzzle on to do his nails. We're at that stage now. And I was so proud of Kiva yesterday. And even I said to the vet, she's come such a long way. And the vet was like, yes, she has. And I was just so amazed by her comfort
Yeah.
she didn't even flinch when she was drawing the blood or anything. It was just, she was still there. I'm not going to say it was perfect.
Yeah.
There was stillness, but she hadn't any reaction. She kept herself together
Right.
for that moment. So I thought that was so much progress for her.
Oh, I love it.
And only for the muzzle. That's what created
Right.
that space for us to get there.
Yeah, because without the muzzle, you'd probably, a tech would have to be holding her head, or there's just more restraint, full body restraint.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, I love it. And for me, it's often a bridge tool like that as well. I'm not intending for this dog to have to wear it the rest of her life, especially if I'm doing a dog reading with a client's dog and one of my dogs, or if it's one of the shelter dogs we're doing it. It's just really nice those first few times they're meeting another dog to have that muzzle on. And then the muzzle can come off if things are going well. You're looking at the body language. A friend of mine who works a shelter in LA said every time they add a new dog to playgroup, that dog comes out in the muzzle and they just see how things go.
And you have some great video on your Instagram page that shows some introductions with the muzzle on.
Yes, I do. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really changed the way I'm able to work with dogs for the better. So how can we change people's perceptions?
Ooh, that's a big question.
Yeah.
Why don't we just put a challenge in place?
Oh, I love it.
This month, let's challenge each other to teach our dogs to wear a muzzle.
Yeah, and challenge our listeners to send in some photos or videos of your dog looking awesome in their muzzle.
Yeah, that will be awesome.
I think it's a cultural thing. I think it comes back to Hannibal Lecter. Sorry, I know you don't want me to say it, but it's like Jaws.
It is.
That movie wrecked me. And I think the Silence of the Lambs, unfortunately, has had a negative influence on muzzle acclimation in our community.
And I'm sorry, but that would have not come into my thoughts of wearing a muzzle, but yes.
Well, so many
now
of
I
my
can't
clients,
get it out of my
know,
head.
Oh, no. Yeah. Sorry about the 3 a.m. wake up. But it happened to me last week, and this client may listen to this, but this happens to me constantly, where when we're talking about we've got a bite history, to go forward out in public, your dog should be wearing a muzzle, I get the Hannibal Lecter comment next.
Oh, interesting.
So it's part of our American culture.
I do think, too, sometimes when I do mention it to clients, let's teach them to wear a muzzle comfortably, I do get pushback. It doesn't feel comfortable for them to have their dog wear a muzzle in their mind.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of people feel like they're going to be judged.
Yeah.
So we need to empower the humans to not care what other people are thinking.
It's similar to when we say crate train your dog for those situations that you might have to put your dog in. Like we mentioned the last episode, the disaster preparedness episode, have that there just in case.
Yep.
So let's challenge you all to teach your dogs to be comfortable with a muzzle
Yeah.
for those just in case times.
And I'm going to challenge everyone to look at the Muzzle Up project and to look at the Muzzle Movement website, because there's a lot on their website about marketing, how we change our view of muzzles. Because I think it's a matter of education, and we're selling people short if we are assuming that they aren't open to education. And I think most people are. There's some great videos out there, and we're going to link those in the show notes. But Mike Shikashio's got some fun ones on muzzle acclimation, and Shrag Patel's got a long one, but very detailed. There's also a class that you can do online that I'll link in there. And what I love about the online class is it shows what happens once the muzzle's on. Because a lot of the videos are like, whoop, the muzzle's on, we're done. But she talks about like doing a scavenger hunt where you're hiding treats, and now the dog's learning to wear the muzzle and find treats. And
So you make it a game.
you make it a game.
I do like that. Like you were saying, the Muzzle Up and the Muzzle Movement also on Instagram have some
Yes.
great videos that you
Yes.
can watch and check out as well.
Yeah, I love the Muzzle Movement's slogan is "Good dogs wear muzzles." I have that sticker on my car. And it's funny, of all the stickers on my car, that is the one that draws the most attention to people and they ask questions about, because it's this dog in a pink flower background with a light blue muzzle, and it's a lab. And that's forcing people to reframe their stereotypes. This isn't a German Shepherd military or police dog wearing a wire muzzle, right? Which is what a lot of us imagine when we think of dogs and muzzles.
And one of the things I just thought about when you said that, it would seem to some people like we're taking agency away from the dog. But in my head, after our conversation here, I feel like we take away agency in so many things. So by having that muzzle on, we're allowing for more agency.
Absolutely. That's why I say they enhance well-being.
Yeah.
Yeah, where Mick gets to be off leash running in the hills, and I couldn't do that without the muzzle. So what a beautiful note to end on, to imagine him running off into the fog in his muzzle, and I feel okay about that. And otherwise, he's on leash next to me, on a head harness no less, on a trail.
And I've got long nails on my dogs.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. Thank you for letting me talk about my passion.
Oh, this was great.
Yeah.
All right, until next time. But we're challenging you all, so contact us. Let us know things that hold you back from doing it.
Yeah. Send us photos of your dog doing some muzzle acclimation. Maybe your dog already in a muzzle, and we will add it to our Instagram page. If I don't know how to do that, I just said that out loud. Emma will figure that out. Thanks for tuning in today, and hope you'll join us for our next episode. You can reach Emma at
ecdogtraining.com or on Instagram at ecdog_training, and Kirsten at
kwhappydogs.com or on Facebook at kwhappydogs. Don't forget to hit subscribe. See you next time.